Yes, and welcome to another Unbreakable Mindset session. So today we're going to talk about self-leadership. Now, one thing I hear over and over again, whether it's from clients or just generally in public, is that people feel lost or people feel stuck in a rut is probably the most commonly used phrase. And this is when people, I believe, very much end up on autopilot, or they're just drifting through life as if they're in a river that they don't know where it's going and they can't really take control of the directions, the action, the progress, or the direction in which they're moving. So very often what happens and why people feel this way, and another phrase that pops up time and time again in relation to people feeling this way, is that they are people pleasers and that they very, very much struggle to say no. They tend to fall in line with what's ever going on around with them. Rather than being self-leadership, I call it, they play follow my leader. And they either do this subconsciously because they're in that drift, or they very much do it, and this is so common, because they are forced into the direction of which their life goes by other people. Combine that with a person who's a people pleaser, who doesn't like conflict or speaking their mind, then that is the key to why it happens so often. Because not only is that an area of your life that you're already struggling with, you then have a group of people, which might be parents, teachers, partners, coaches, friends, team captains, and everywhere in between, who are so far the other way with their vision of how life should be. And not only how their life should be, how the world should be, the rules we should play by in the life that you should live, that they are so forceful towards you and your life that it makes it almost impossible for you to not be a people pleaser. So this isn't what I want is a phrase that I don't ever hear. Or if I do hear it, it's only heard in the sense of someone saying it. I don't want to be here. I'm not living the life I want. I'm not following my dreams. But they don't take any action towards it. Very often, again, because it's conflict avoidance. So when you are not following your own dreams and you are a born people pleaser, that is very often, and this could stem from very early childhood issues of being controlled and forced and manipulated into certain directions in life. It's very often that as humans, we also don't like causing disagreement. We don't like conflict. We don't like avoiding people. And very often, we also don't do any of these things because it's a fear of being excluded, which goes back to the tribe mentality. You know, if we look back in the olden days in the tribe, if you didn't fit in and you weren't accepted, then you were excluded and you were left out, and you wouldn't have a roof over your head and you wouldn't eat. So I very often get it. Now, the phrases that I hear all the time and have said myself is, I just do what I'm told. And it breaks my heart. I've heard that 100,000 times from different people, clients and not. Or they say, I just stay quiet, mate. Or very often, people, especially our partners or our bosses or our colleagues, force us to do that as well. I've heard that so many people have said this to me in the past. Lee, please don't say anything. Because they're not even worried about themselves. They're worried about the conflict that you're going to cause by being honest and authentic and true to themselves, and what effect that conflict may have on them. So they urge you to stay quiet. They urge you to not say anything. Oh, don't say anything to him about that, Lee. It's just not worth the grief. It's not about it not being worth the grief. It's about, if we don't express these things, this is when they become suppressed until they boil over. And then we self-soothe like babies with drink or food. because we're not living the life that we want to live. We're being forced to live a life that we don't want to live, and we're too afraid to speak up. This is when we become powerless. This is when we then fall into that state of what's called learned hopelessness, or it can also be called learned helplessness. It can also be called playing the victim. Now, you have to understand, if someone is forcing you to do something you don't want to do, and you do it anyway because you just want to stay quiet, because you don't want the conflict, that's why motivation is such a struggle, because you're trying to motivate yourself towards something you don't want to do. And the easiest way to become unmotivated is to do something you don't want to do. Eat foods you don't want to eat. Train in a way you don't want to train. Do a course you don't want to do. Go on holiday or a weekend to a place that you don't want to go. Go on a weekend out when you don't want to go out. Now, if you are a follower and not a leader of your own life, if you are a passenger and not a driver, then your progress will always be stunted. Now, people will always try to mold you. They will always try to keep you trapped in this box. Like when we spoke about the fleas, a flea will jump and hit its head 5,000 times against the roof of a box until eventually it recalibrates itself. So it only jumps as high as just below the lid. Now, when the lid's taken off, i.e. you're being set free, the reality is the fly still only jumps to the same height. And it never jumps any higher. And this is where so many people live, because they've been put in this box, they've been kept down, they've been restricted, they've been held back. Then they develop anger, resentment, and frustration because they're not living the lives that they want. And even when they try, they now can't jump any higher. Parents, schools, companies, husbands, wives, or very often, even ourselves, doing it subconsciously, because we end up spectating so much social media and other things that we end up falling in line, doing what society says we thinks we should have. We should have a mortgage by this age. We should have kids by this age. We should go on holiday once a week. We should behave like a certain way in public, and, I told the story on a live video the other day, and this happened to me at university. It's massive across all universities. You can't do it now because it would be illegal. But after rugby or hockey or netball, you used to have these organized beer circles where you were forced to drink X amounts of Fosters within a certain period. Neck that Foster if you've scored a try. Neck that pint of Foster if you got sent off. Neck that pint of Foster if you didn't come dressed in the right clothes, until you were basically physically sick. And this happened to me at uni several times, until I said enough is enough. And I said to the team captain, I'm not coming to the beer circle next week. I'm not into this. I don't want to get so ridiculously drunk every week that I can't even find my own way home. I ruined a couple of suits. And the next week I was dropped to the second team because I've found the balls to go against the grain, to stand up to the social secretary, Billy Big Bollocks, who thought he controlled everyone and their actions. So be it. I went on to play rugby at a better standard for a better club. But every single other player, whether they wanted to drink those beers or not, they did it because they were forced to, because they wanted to fit in, because they didn't want to cause conflict. And this happens throughout life. Do you know how many kids go into medicine because their dad was into medicine, or kids go into law because mum was into law? Mum forced them to be in the law. I had this to a very small level with my granddad, but not on the same. So he very often told me, boy, the army is the career for you. You'll be very well looked after in the army. You play rugby for the army. You wouldn't even have to do a lot within the army because you would be on all the rugby tours. And it just wasn't for me at that time. But when I expressed that, he didn't force me to do it. He asked me, what do you want to do? And I went to uni. Some parents aren't that flexible. They will push, tell their kids the way to live their life, tell them what sports they're going to play, tell them what career they're going to do. And it's wrong. You know, again, I experienced the same thing in fitness when I left nightclubs. You'll never make any money in training, never make any money as a personal trainer. And look at the size of the company that's now built. You know, people will try and pigeonhole you. You'll never make it as a rugby player. You're too small. Played rugby to a very good standard. You know, people force these opinions on us, don't they? They can't wait to tell you what they think is best for you. And sometimes it comes from a good place, but sometimes it comes from a bad place that they want to hold you back. And it's so easy to just fall into it. It's so easy to stay quiet, go with the flow. But you have to understand, if you want to live an authentic life, if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. If something feels right, do it. Even if people tell you not to. It's not their life. You will never be happy and content if you allow other people to make all your decisions for you. You owe it to yourself to follow your heart, to follow your dreams, to follow your visions, to take chances, to take risks, because you only have one life. And if you let other people make all the decisions for you, I guarantee you are going to live an unhappy life. Remember the movie example. You are the leading role. You're not an extra. You're not the supporting cast. You're not someone who's told what to do. And leadership gets confused because leadership has to start with leadership. You will think as leaders as government leaders, army leaders, team leaders, me as a leader of this group. But I can't be a leader of this group unless I have high levels of self-leadership. And self-leadership and learning to lead yourself first is what's most important. Because when you are true to yourself, when your actions are aligning with your values, your dreams, and your visions, your energy will skyrocket. Everything will go to a new level. You know, again, this is why I had the most amazing year in Elite X before winning Client of the Year for Elite X. But then I got to a point when it didn't feel right anymore. So I changed and went into Alliance. Nobody wanted me to leave. Everybody tried to convince me not to. And I went against the grain. And now I feel happier. Had I given in to peer pressure, which it was, of course, there was a huge aspect of those people also wanted the best for me. But they also wanted what was best for them. These decisions are hard. It's hard to say no, because even when you say no, people still try to convince you, bully you, badger you. The classic night out example. No, I'm not coming. I'm not drinking. And then they're in at you every day. And then they try to get all the other people, boring him. Can you believe Lee's not coming? And then they try to gang up, right? And it's this tribe mentality again. But if you allow these people to control your life and your decisions, you will always be trapped, bitter, resentful, but you won't talk about it. And then you'll suppress it and then you'll self-soothe again. But never go against your instinct. Never allow other people to control you. Be a decision taker. Be a decision maker and own your decisions, not allow other people to make them for you. This is your movie. Don't let somebody else write your movie. This is where all the anger, resentment, and frustration comes from. Because your heart and your soul will always tell you what you want to do and where you should be going. This is why haters exist on social media, because they see people like myself and others following their dreams, achieving results, speaking their mind, doing what they say they would, not giving a fuck about what they post on social media, and they hate it because they are living a life they don't want to live based on the direction and pressure from other people. They haven't found the courage yet to take the action. So they hate people who have. People that have made the decisions that they haven't, that have moved on, and the decisions that they haven't made are what's still keeping them stuck. This is when they get anger, resentment, frustration. And they're not even living their life. They're scrolling social media, spectating others, firing shots at them because they're so angry that they're not living their dream life. And this is when that classic line comes out. Oh, just because you're good at business and you've got a good body, you think you're better than me, do you now? No, I've said this before. I am never above or below another human being. I am where I am with the amount of time and effort I've committed into my goals and dreams. That person, they think that I'm better than them, which is why they've written it, because I've had the courage to do the things that they didn't. And they're angry about it, which is why they shout at you. You know, people who have had the courage to move and achieve success and change are then hated because the other people have stayed stuck and they feel trapped. They are the passenger in the car. The other people have started driving the car. And they don't like being a passenger. They want to be a driver like you and I, but they haven't found the courage. So they try and pull you down. And it's all about just being you. It comes back to removing this mask. It comes back to authenticity. But the surest way to stay trapped, lost, stuck, floating through life on autopilot, going with the flow, going with the motion, living your life unhappy, is to live your life as a follower. To play the game of life by somebody else's rules. Fuck that. Don't be passive. Be a leader, but lead your own life. Don't wait to be told what to do. Don't wait to be rescued. Take control. Lead yourself. Lead your life. But you have to accept you are responsible for your own happiness. You are responsible for your own results, your own career, your own body, your own progress, your own fun. Don't rely on others to make you happy. It has to come from here. It has to come from within. Because what happens if we rely on others? They always let us down. So don't allow other people to lead your life. Lead your own life. We are all masters and creators of our own destiny. We are all born leaders. And self-leadership is something that isn't ever even talked about because leadership is thought of as government leaders, army leaders. It's not about the title. It's not about team captains, team leaders, bosses, brigadiers, majors. It's not about the title. It's about taking the responsibility for your own life and being your own leader, wanting success for your life. When you want success and progress for your life, as much as I want it for each and every one of you, you will fly. But you have to approach your own life as if you are the leader of it. You're in charge. This is why the planner is so important. This is why the Unbreakable 90 planner was created and shipped to all of you. You're the leader of your own exercise. You're the leader of your own personal development, but prioritize your needs, your ambitions, your goals. Be audacious enough to demand more of your own life. Don't rely on others for anything, and certainly don't allow them to write your story. That is a winning mindset. Nail leading your own life, and nobody can stop you because nobody knows you better than you. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't listen to people like Paul, like Ollie, like Kieran, like Phil Graham, like Marcus, like all the hundreds of coaches I've had. Of course, I listen to them because they're more experienced, they're more knowledgeable, and they have what I want. But I don't allow them to define who I am as a person. I don't allow them to lead my life and force me down roads that I don't want to go down. I did for a bit. That's why I lost myself last year. I was just doing what I was told, not doing what I knew I wanted to do. Now, by all means, get advice, but the final decision has to be yours. Pay attention to your heart. Remember us talking about heart goals, not head goals. If something doesn't feel right, ask yourself why. And pleasing others is not a good enough reason. Why are you pleasing them? Why do you feel you have to please them? Normally because it's conflict avoidance from fear, but this will ruin your personal happiness because only you and I know what's best for ourselves. And again, this comparison thing also makes you do things you don't want to do. You feel you need to live your life a certain way because of what you see on social media. This will ruin your personal happiness. Nobody apart from you needs to know. And transformation is not a spectator sport. So stop measuring your progress and your success and your decisions based on other people again. Social media is terrible for this. Making us do and be what other people want because we think we need to do that to get where they are. That's wrong. As I said, no one is better or worse. No one is above or below. But we need to become innovators, not imitators. You are not them. So you don't need to compare your life to them because you don't have the same goals and dreams. So don't follow other people's goals and dreams. Just be you. Take off the mask. Embrace your unique individuality, your unique authenticity, and focus becoming the person you need to be and measure yourself on your own commitment towards who you want to be, not where you are on the journey of life and compared to other people, which half of it is fake anyway. It's the fucking highlight reels. Just be you, do you, be authentic, find your dreams, find your visions, and don't allow other people to push you down these roads. Because when you do this, the world will reward you. Demand higher standards of yourself. Self-leadership is leading yourself like a leader would lead a team. But you will never get anywhere either wanting or trying to be like someone else. I did this for 15 years in my DJ career, always trying to move with the scene, produce music with the scene, change my style with the scene, be like Dubfire, be like Sasha, be like Jeremy Healy. Then moving on, be like Camel Fat, be like Steve Angelo, whoever was big and doing well. I just tried to be like them until I didn't even know who I was anymore. And when I finally just started being myself and playing music that was in my heart without any fucks given as towards anyone liked it, that was then when I started to move forward. But you will never get anywhere pretending to be someone you're not. Stay true to yourself. Be you always. Embrace your unique authenticity and do not allow others to plan your life or keep you trapped in a box, because you are better than that. You deserve more. You have one life. Go and live it.